Hey guys, Michael here once again for another interview. I'm very excited to speak with Annabelle Agnew today. She's a Montreal based wedding and portrait photographer with a super busy schedule. She's been able to take weddings across Europe last summer and shoot over 30 weddings this year by herself. So definitely excited to speak with her to find out, what makes her tick, how she stays excited, how to handle 30 plus weddings, and what it takes and what she's learned from all these experiences she's had. I wanted to speak with her about what it takes to work that many gigs, how she stays sane, how she stays inspired, and learn a little bit about her craft. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of takeaways for everyone here, so sit back and I hope you enjoy the interview. Did you hear that?
Yes, got it.
Recording in progress. My voice is like super, I don't know what the hell. I think I've just been pushing too hard and my voice is kind of choppy. So I may have to ahem once or twice.
Okay, well, I'll try and tolerate it.
I already have an intro that I recorded, so we can just skip the intro and just get right into questions.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll have a whole list of them right here on this bill. You can't see, but maybe you can see
An envelope.
now.
It's like a back of an envelope.
Yep.
Look at that. You do. So organized.
Well, I wrote them while I was eating soup, so they might not be about you. They might be about other things.
It might be about your soup.
Yeah, they could be about my soup.
What was I thinking when I made this soup? Okay.
Say, hey, Annabelle, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Michael?
Good. Thanks for taking some time to chat with me. I'm excited to speak with you and hear about your summer, hear about your year. It's been, according to Instagram, 33 weddings you shot this year. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. That's what I counted anyway. 33.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
It's too much.
Is this the first season that you've had that much on the go?
Yes. Yeah, I think the last year was what I thought was the most, which I think was around 21 or 22.
Okay.
And this year was a lot more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot for anybody. And you shoot alone like the majority of the time. Is that true?
Yeah. So I think 3 of those weddings I had. No, I'm sorry. 4 of the weddings that I had this year, I had a second photographer, but otherwise I was alone for the most part.
So let me ask you, I think there's a lot of people that have a photography business that are doing okay. They're making some money. They're doing what they love to do. But 33 weddings is a big commitment. It's a lot of work. Is there anything that you have understood about your work now after shooting 33 weddings that you might not have expected might have happened to you?
I think I have a lot more confidence in myself now. And I've let go. And I think that this is like a culmination of a few different influences happening at the same time. But I would say that, in previous seasons, I would feel like I needed to prepare more for every wedding, be really sure about like where I was taking couples, be very certain about the way the day would roll out and what I wanted to hit in terms of the framework and building a story. It was a lot more controlled. Now I've been in so many different situations where that just goes out the window. I did a lot of traveling for certain weddings where I just didn't have the time baked in to be that prepared. It's given me more confidence to be able to know that I can pretty much handle whatever is thrown at me now, based just on quantity of the amount of time I've spent doing so many different things now.
Yeah. What is it like, after a long night, you come home, you put your feet up on the couch and camera bags are away. Are you the kind of person who's like anxiously like backing up things right away, or can you just kind of like let it go? You trust yourself, and then tomorrow morning we'll get to things.
Yeah, I definitely would be the first description when I first started out, but now, I can definitely let it go, leave it for the morning, start uploading on cards the next day, and sometimes even the following day, because sometimes I've had another see, that's a little bit tricky. If I have another wedding back to back, I have to be on it that evening.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I can let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. I had actually known photographers that never shot a second wedding on a card. They would literally put the card away. It was almost kind of like a digital, like it was like the film approach to like file management, where this card is like Annabelle's wedding. This card is Susan's wedding. This card is Tom's wedding. And they would
For
never shoot on
forever?
that again. Yeah, they
What?
wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they
I
just didn't want to.
mean,
They didn't want to worry about like overwriting things. I mean, I've had situations where I was on shoots and I forgot to format. That's always a really touchy subject, is like, oh shoot, did I back it up? Did I not back it up? I only
mhm.
have like 400 images. Should I just keep going or should I format? It's like a terrifying like
Yeah.
experience to go through because you're really not sure. And that's the scary thing. When you are really busy, sometimes you do take these technical routes that everything's done. But if you don't do that, that really can throw you off, and it can throw you into a spiral, or throw me into a spiral anyway.
Yeah, there's certain moments where, because I have a pretty solid system about how I run my cards, but there are moments where I'll put a card in and it's already got photos on it, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, and then I have to take a minute to understand what that means, because if you're like, for me, I'm normally so on it. I know exactly what cards I need for the next and where the other cards go once they're done. So when a little mistake like that gets thrown into the mix, I have to hit pause. I had to do that for a wedding this season during group shots, and that like
Mm.
those really throw you, those little moments. It doesn't matter how prepared you are, how much you back up. Like even when I went to Europe, I knew I was not going to like format cards. They were all going to be for specific weddings until I got back, so that I would have backups of backups of backups. But I mean, there's always something that throws you.
Yeah.
Not always, but some things will throw you. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Europe, I think a lot of photographers in our community, in our city, um, would love to do what you did this year, would love to be able to go to Greece and go to Italy and go here and go there. And I think that's the dream of being the solopreneurs, to be able to travel, work, tell me a little bit about that experience, about managing and figuring out, how am I going to do this? And maybe it's one thing to sort of, get booked for a wedding, one wedding somewhere far away, but you somehow managed to string together a few things like an absolute pro. So what is that like? Like, doing that sort of experience, traveling for a few weeks, going to a couple of different weddings, and polishing it off, and rocking and rolling with that.
Well, I got the one wedding in Greece, and that was with a wedding planner here in Montreal. And I'd worked with her on several weddings, and she asked me if I would want to do it. And I thought, okay, great. So I've got this wedding in Greece, and this is something I've wanted to do. I've never been there. I also knew that I would probably want to spend more time in Europe and not just be there for the wedding. And July is often quiet here in Montreal. So I created a landing page on my website, just, I'm going to be here for these dates. If you have a wedding or you want to meet up with me, let me know, and maybe we can arrange something. And, I got this long letter from a couple in North Carolina saying, hey, we found you through a photographer we like in New York, and da 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 da. And we decided to get married in Italy, and we would love to have you there with us. So I think there's
Wow.
ways you put yourself out there, and the magic of the internet can yield you these results, right? Like it's odd.
Results. Results.
Results.
Okay, booked in Italy.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm just saying that like often I'll see an opportunity for some other thing inside another thing and try and
Yeah.
build that. Yeah.
I think there is this idea that many photographers have, where we do live in the Instagram age, and everyone is looking at the amount of images we're that's available to us is insane now.
Yes,
And when you do see photographers all over the world traveling, and you think, wow, like why don't I would love to go to Iceland. I would love to do this in
yeah,
in India. I would love to do this here. But the idea also is for that photographer that has no intention of traveling and has no desire to sort of do these far flung off weddings and just is like, I do love that idea, but she or he's just like, guess what? We've got great stuff here, and I don't need to fly all over the world because it's complicated and it's tricky.
it is.
Did you find that that work was like you're super excited, like this was like excellent work, or was this like a beautiful experience with a great couple and everything just worked out? But was the work really different?
I would say the work is not different. You're just in a different place. And I got to see places that I'd never seen before. I got to take my daughter with me to Greece. I had these opportunities which were fantastic, but I think the glamour of what we see online, it isn't what it is in traveling. And this year was particularly crazy because everybody decided to travel at the same time. So I
Yeah.
had to strategically make sure, and I was flying to a lot of different places, whilst because the weddings were far enough apart that I had to do some other complicated travel. So making sure that I traveled with a very small carry-on so that I didn't have to wait for all the luggage holdups that were happening that was all over the news. There were so many different things that I had to manage in terms of risk management in order for me to do the work, but also to see things. So that adds layers of stress. And then communicating with people, finding transport. When I was in Positano, I realized I can't really take this couple around anymore. I don't have a car. It's a mountain. I don't know how to drive a scooter.
Yeah.
They don't either.
Yeah.
Like, we really can't adventure in the way that maybe you imagine you can. Like, then there's the timeline and the planners. So I think, moving forward, I'm not going to say no to those opportunities, but I don't know that I would seek them out in the same sort of glamorous way I had in my mind previous to now the experiences that I've had. I think travel adds this whole other layer of complication. If you have children and life here, it gets really complicated because you want to find balance in all of those things.
So does this mean you'll not be creating 10 more landing pages for different destinations all over
Yeah,
the
that's
world?
right. I don't think I will.
Okay. Okay.
Unless there's
So,
a place that I really want to go to. But no, I think that you can find enough interesting things in your own backyard.
hmm.
Right? That's the challenge and the fun of it.
Well, speaking of making images in your own backyard, I'd like to look at some of your images if you don't mind.
Oh no.
I'm gonna share my screen with you, okay?
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, right here
Mm-hmm.
it says my best wedding photographs. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. These are your best wedding photographs. And
They were at a certain time. Already I'm like wincing because this was created a year and a half ago. I mean, so much has changed. Even the color, everything. Yeah. I mean, these are beautiful, but yes.
these are no longer your best wedding photographs?
I mean, I have a lot more that I really love. Yes.
There's definitely a consistent vibe, and there's a softness to these images, and there's a softness to I know that light has a lot to do with it, but and your shutter hasn't. Hey, you're actually, is this you? This is you.
Yeah, that's me.
I like that you included yourself in your own best wedding photos. I like that. That's a nice touch.
I love how you pick out my wording of things.
Yeah, I love there's a super consistent. I think that's really a great thing when you get to the point when things do really just look like this is yours. There's no second guessing. I think a lot of that is sometimes timing, sometimes color, sometimes it's the framing. I know, you and I have both talked about being tall, and I think that there's a lot of advantages to being tall.
Yes.
We can go high, we can go low. If you're
Right.
not tall, you can only go a little bit higher, but you know, and I feel like a lot of these images, they have I mean, even if these are sort of not where you're at today, I think that these are
Yeah.
still, there's still a lot of beauty there, and there's still a lot of great things to go. Where do you think that you have maybe grown, that maybe these images are not showing where you're at right now? What's changed a little bit?
I would say that this is like a great snapshot of where I was really starting to understand where my strengths are as a wedding photographer. I now have much more clarity around that. I think my color, the way that I deal with color is much better than what I'm seeing here. I think I allow color to feel a little bit more natural, less produced that we're seeing in these images here. They're a little bit too uniform, I think. Um, but I mean, one of the things that I think is my strength is my understanding of light and shape, and how it can be sculptural. So do you understand what I mean? Like, I think there are shapes in great photography. There's like a sculptural shape that happens, and light can really influence that. So all of my best work, I think, really captures the light in a very strong way, like that one. Anyway, so
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, talking about like composition and shapes and like, actual elements within the frame, there can be shapes within shapes within shapes, and they all kind
yeah,
of play a role in where do you want the eye to go? Where do you want never to let the eye go out of the frame, but like keep it circling, keep it looking for more. And there's a lot of that in these images. So I know we all change and we all grow as photographers, but um I definitely, there's a lot of great moments here. And um, I think I talked to you one time about kids, and kids at weddings are some of my favorite things to keep my eye on, because they always do hilarious things. And I think that I mean, you're definitely not shy to share those moments. And it's great that you take them, because they are so funny sometimes. Um,
yeah, kids are really themselves at weddings. They get bored, they
yeah.
get playful, they're not interested in the real storyline that's happening. It's their whole other universe. I'm always kind of sad when it's a kidless wedding, because I think they add another type of energy that happens. Um, yeah, so I love following them. I have my own kids too. So there's always this bond. I get down at their level, and I think there's a trust there too, because often they will be very apprehensive at first about a photographer. They don't
Mhm.
want to pose for photographs. And I love that type of energy. And I think going back to my work too, I see elements of me really wanting things to unfold a little bit more naturally, be less rigid. There are certain photographs that are doing that, and I think I've managed to get better at that now, where I don't feel so rigid. I guess I think that things feel a little bit more uh yeah, like more flexible inside the frame.
Mhm. I gotta flip over to the other
At
side.
the other side of your envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so Annabelle, one of the comments I had from the group was that someone had actually noticed you on stage performing, because you do perform improv, and this
Yes.
person had wrote in to see if you would do basically a reenactment of you at a wedding and all your funny moves and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Is it possible that we could see an
Like on
imitation?
Zoom right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, no. Because
You're
then what would happen is like get down low. I mean, I'm a goober, right? So yeah, like it's a lot of
what is goober?
goober. Well, that's what I call. There's a certain type of Annabelle that can come out on stage, and some of my teachers have called me out on it, where it's just this part of me that's gooberish. Like it's just kind of a dork, maybe a little too actory at the same time. Like it's like doesn't stay in I don't know, it's a certain part of me that gets silly and not comfortable with who I am, right? I get goofy, goobery. Yeah. So
Okay, well,
yeah,
I'm
like I
gonna
don't know if I would act it out right now because I'd have to get like out of this frame and get real physical and it'd look really silly.
so you that's what you do at that's what you look like. If I was a guest at a wedding and you were photographing that wedding, I would be amazed at the amount of space you require to do your work. Like
Yeah.
15-foot safety zone, please. Ladders, chairs.
Like handstands,
Wow.
like a bit of downward facing dog, through my legs, got to create different shapes. It's different things for sure. Upside down, shoot
Oh
upside
yeah.
down all of the time, all of the
Yeah.
time. Got to get those angles different ways.
Got to get
Yeah.
those angles.
Yeah. No, I would say for the most part, the most I would do is I do get down low quite a bit. Like I do love getting comments, especially after a ceremony. And this just happened at the last wedding. It's a big wedding, 220 people. And a guy came up to us afterwards. He's like, I go to a lot of these weddings. And he's like, what I loved was that you too, because I had a second photographer, stayed out of the way. I got to see the whole ceremony without photographers right up at the front taking up the entire space. And I
Yeah.
just don't think it's necessary. So often I do, for a tall person, tend to make myself quite small sometimes, and then big when I need to get people's attention and be like, hey, let's do this group shot already so we can go drink. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I think that I'm always like really considerate about is during this ceremony is I never want to attract attention to myself, and I am a tall person and I do have like wide shoulders, and I just don't want to be like blocking 15 people's views of the wedding, even though I'm the only one that's being paid to be here and
Yeah,
they want you here,
that's right.
but it not at the cost of like becoming blocking 15 people from seeing these moments happen in front of them. Do you feel a lot
Yeah.
of pressure to sort of like there are a lot of photographers that will, I mean, I've shot weddings with videographers where I was about to call the police. I thought these people are nuts and have no respect for anyone's
I
space.
know. I've seen them and it drives me crazy. I
And
actually
I'm
spoke to a videographer after one and I go, look, like, I don't know if this is your first time, but other people want to see these people get married. Like he stood right there at the front and I blocking everything. And he's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, how can you not understand that as a
yeah,
visual person, that
yeah,
your body is in front of everything?
yeah. We can talk about that like all day because I couldn't believe the amount of forwardness. And I thought to myself, why don't I do that? Like, what if I don't care and just get in there and do it? I mean, I could use a fisheye lens and get in there like they are. Like they were literally doing that. And I thought,
I know.
that's not appropriate. And I like that normally at weddings, if you do get comments about how well you're moving, or if people, have mentioned like, great job, like we never really know exactly what they mean. They just know that you're vibing with the, you're not drawing too much attention to yourself. And I think that the work that I've seen from you, your best wedding photography page that we just looked at, has a lot of that there. It's confident. It is, there is a beautiful use of light, capturing light in interesting ways, very like poetic ways, very soft. The color is beautiful. So yeah, I can absolutely imagine. I have a hard time imagining you acting like go gadget at a wedding where you're like up, down, this way. I don't really believe you that you demand that much space. And
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
yeah,
I don't. And like I think what you're saying as well is if you can read the energy of a room and become a part of that energy of the room, you're going to get better shots because people feel more at ease around you. They don't feel like you're going to pressure them to do anything. They can be themselves. There is this, I think it's really a skill set that maybe not everybody has because they think that they need to get that shot. They need to get this shot. And like there's other ways you can do those things and get interesting shots. There's no set shot list. I know a lot of photographers talk about this, but you don't need to get in there and get the rings, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can do something else that might capture what they're doing right now without it being a specific ring shot right now. And I think we get so set on this idea of what needs to be captured. You know, it's the officiant every time being like, pose while you're signing the thing. I'm like, well, why? Why do we need that shot? We don't.
Yeah.
You're going to have the piece of paper with the signature on it.
Well, if that's the case, what about, let's pretend this happened. All right. You missed the kiss. You were just
Yes,
like,
I've done that. I've missed the kiss a couple of times.
okay. So, and that moment where is this recently, or was this like a long time ago?
A long time ago, but
Okay.
I have missed it. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're one person, you have to pick and choose where you are. You can't not be everywhere at once. So,
Right.
you know, in particular, like if the bride's dress is amazing and the venue's like she's walking out and it's just wide, and I really want to have that behind her shot, I obviously cannot be at the front photographing all the guests coming through, because how am I going to run around and how can we do this?
Right.
And, you know, being able to sort of let yourself go and forgive yourself a little bit for missing some things, you just have to pray to God that like it pays off and that you get the shot, because, you know, there is a lot of pressure, and it's good that you don't beat yourself up about the expectations of like that are unattainable. You know, you
Yeah.
cannot be everywhere. I know you have,
Can't be
you know, you're
everywhere.
tall and you have long legs, but you cannot literally run from one side to the other side.
No, and how ridiculous would that look too? As like a photographer running around all the camera equipment, like here and there, and like
There, we're getting a little bit of it. We're getting...
like it would just be so distracting.
Yeah.
I've been to weddings where that's so distracting, where this person is in their own brain space and they don't understand that their physicality is distracting. It's like a baby crying in a ceremony. Like just be aware that your presence is also there. You're not just, you know.
Well, have you ever encountered the videography team that brings cranes into the reception area for
Where
the...
they hold up a whole ceremony because their drone is broken? No, it's not okay.
Yeah, not okay. We're not hating on any videographers out there, but there are a
No
couple of you
names are being
that are
mentioned.
not very good, and they're not very cool.
Yeah, not cool.
Not very considerate, that is.
Exactly. It's not about your gear and that one shot. It's about being present and doing what you can and in that space without being an interference. I think it's really important.
Those are good words to live by. That's a good philosophy. That's a good mental mindset, is being able to trust yourself, not beat yourself up if you don't capture everything. It's never going to go the way you want it to go.
Yeah.
But it is up to you to make the most of what you're given in that opportunity. And that does take time. So
it does. And actually, everything you're saying right now is everything I learned in improv as well. So I really highly recommend an improv class to most people, regardless if they're a photographer or not. But it is really helpful in letting go of not being able to do it, all of your ideas, and saying yes to whatever's new and in front of you, and getting into that collaborative spirit of like, okay, this is the weather today, this is the light today, these are all of the things I have no control over, but what can I create with what's here? Because I can't do what I would love to do. I have to do with what's here. And that's when you can embrace that, that's where things can actually be exciting. And sometimes it's boring, sometimes it sucks, but that's okay too. I think it's important to be okay with all of those scenarios without beating yourself up.
Yeah. I think I remember early on, I had some particularly challenging days. And I think that some of my best work of the year came from those days.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think that you just have to trust yourself. Like you said, trust yourself, stay curious, keep your camera ready, and, you know, follow your gut and follow your intuition. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your updated best wedding photography page.
Yes, thank you for reminding me I have that page on my website. It has been a while since I've been on my website, so I need to really update everything. everything. It's going to be my winter project.
Okay. Well, maybe you'll be able to share some links with us to your improv educators, because I think you have a point about your experience doing that in photography. It is good to be a more well-rounded individual, and I'm sure the gentleman that wrote in about the comment will still be happy with your.
I hope that he's okay with the fact that I didn't do improv right here, right now, but he's welcome to come watch me be a goof on stage.
Cool. Okay. We'll get the
Yeah,
link. We'll get the links. We'll get the links posted to the YouTube channel.
great.
So Annabelle, thanks so much for sharing some tips, sharing your insight, and sharing your story a little bit with me today. I'm sure it's going to be really well received, and I'm sure your winter project is going to be 1,000% great.
Thank you. I like your vote of confidence. Thanks for having me, Michael.
All right, we'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm going to press stop.